Next thing I want to talk about is what is consent. Does anybody want to tell me what they think consent is? I'll start off. Consent is choosing to do something. Now I have a definition that I look up online, but I mean, consent is choosing to do or to agree with something. And the emphasis here is on choice.
What about ability too?
Yeah, well, exactly. Thank you for saying that. Choosing
The ability to choose.
with ability. And so then once we know that when we talk about consent, we talk about people who want to have sex. And then we have to say, why is that a good thing? What kind of power comes from choosing to want to have sex? When you're a lot more comfortable, with yourself. You're a lot more free to explore. You are a lot more playful. But one of my friends found an article online. I think we've all found it. Talk yes or no. And to a certain degree, if you are in that space where you're not sure if you want to go through with an action, with a person, with a decision, with a meal that you're about to eat, if you don't want to do it, then it's non-consensual. If you're sort of on that gray, then you're really just getting pressured into a situation. And I think it's only, and that situation is created by two things. One is our inability to say no in a strong way, and our inability to say yes in a strong way. And if we can strengthen each other to say either one of those things, yes or no, we develop the ability to be able to say both. And then our sexuality becomes much more intentional, much more transformative. And then when I started talking about this, it was for the organization Men Can Stop Rape, which is an awesome thing, but I didn't want to do a workshop about rape because everyone knows rape is wrong. Because when we think of rape, we think of some guy holding down some girl, and forcing himself sexually on her, perhaps violently. And that's one kind of rape, but that's not really what I'm talking about right now. That's a criminal act. If that's part of your idea of sex, then you should go get help. But it's not any of your ideas. But what I'm talking about is the gray line, when it doesn't become an issue of force, but it becomes an issue of I'm not sure, or I'm not able to say no, or I've been pressured, or I'm tired and you keep bugging me. And all these are issues of non-consent, and this goes for females and males. We have to be able to understand that without desiring sex, we won't achieve a good relationship with a partner. If your partner doesn't want sex, you should go home and practice self-loving, which they have lots of awesome classes here about that as well. Now, does anyone have any questions or comments about rape or non-consensual sex? Because I think it's important to separate the criminal act of rape from the sorts of rape that are so common in our culture, and so common in media, and so common in the bars, that we sort of just begin to gloss over it and zone out, and go into trance and not acknowledge the actual injustice that we're not only doing to women, to men, but to ourselves too. We're here because we want to own our sexuality. We're here because we want to own our capacity to experience pleasure in life. We want to own our capacity to experience sensations.
I mean, forgive me if I sound like an asshole for saying this, but I guess I just feel like I don't know I'm saying this, but I feel like chase game. It's kind of fun.
Yeah, sure.
But I mean, I feel like that becomes like a big gray area,
Well, I mean, yeah, you're right. To a certain degree, like, you know, you might have psychological, like, you might have unresolved issues if you're just getting off on being desired and saying no. But I mean, but this can be, yeah, right. But this can be, you know, for some people, this is normal and it can be okay. You know, have you ever had an experience where you said no to a guy, but you kind of wanted him to keep?
Yeah, it's like the no that means yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Yeah, not yet. Sure,
Yes,
sure.
but you got, yeah.
But I mean, but if you play that game, and I wouldn't encourage anybody else to play that game if they don't want to, you have to be really strong in your ability to say no if the messages become blurred, you know. And I think, and in the end, it is not yet that once it becomes okay, you're ready to give yourself the time. Does that sound like?
Yeah.
Because like that chase game is something that like it's the nature of the male-female dynamic, I think, to a certain degree, you know, and to deny that would be to deny how much fun flirting can be, you know. I remember when I was a little kid, I asked my mom, she kind of took a shot at my dad. She said, your dad doesn't want to talk to you about sex. But if there's anything you want to ask, you can ask me. And I said, sure, Mom, like, what happens before sex? You know, how do people start having sex? Do they chase each other around the bed? You know? and that's like, and that's really what it is, you know? It's sort of like this, like, playing with desire and playing with anticipation. It's like, you know, that Winnie the Pooh says that moment before you actually eat the honey is better than the honey itself, you know? And so I think the chase game is part of foreplay, or, you know, it's such a healthy
Getting back to the whole conversation, like what you said about women also being extremely, you know, more in touch with having their primordial animal side. If you think about like a pride alliance, there's usually one alpha male. And if you think about it, if you go out to bars and stuff, there's a bunch of guys that are trying to act like alpha males. Generally speaking, that is probably a large percentage of people that like, go out to look on set. You know, that's pretty much all there is that's going on. But if you look at how humans and animals behave, males are trying to assert an alpha male role so they get to mate with women. But the thing is, the females, they're animalistic, right? They are the ones that get to choose who they mate with.
Yeah, that's very
Yeah, like a male lion is dominant over a pride. Like they stay in the pride for 4 hours, and if there's like some scraggly teenage boy lion, like he's gonna fall in love. But he's got plenty of female lions that like him, like they're okay with being like, look at this,
But
look at it.
the females are giving now power.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
They are consenting to him being dominant.
Yeah.
Which kind of goes back to the whole issue of consent not being necessarily brought up within the culture as much with males, because obviously most of the time, I'm sure women rape men too.
Yeah.
It can go both ways, but generally speaking, when you think of the commercialized cultural term,
Yeah, that's the one that's
guy
promoted.
being the perpetrator.
Did I saw the article? The woman raping the guy?
No?
I'll send it to you.
That sounds great, thank you. I Facebook you. But when we talk about humans and animals, which is so true, I'm always like, I always want to almost preface it by saying, like, really, humans are such symbolic creatures. Like, we don't really even perceive reality, we perceive symbols. And so if we compare ourselves to lions, we will act like lions. And what occurs to me is that the two most closely related animals to us are primates. They're chimpanzees and bonobos. Chimpanzees are patriarchal.
Are dolphins
No.
and humans the only... Okay.
Yeah, no, you're onto it though, yeah.
Is there anything else that's an animal that has sexual pleasure?
Bonobos.
Okay.
Yes. So,
What are those? Are they little monkeys?
they're primates. They're not quite.
But what is, I mean...
They're essentially chimpanzees.
They're like little
They evolved
chimpanzees.
in a different They have sex all the time.
Yeah, that's how
how
they
they
resolve
sell.
conflicts, actually.
I like little like llamas have
They do
primates,
oral
like,
sex,
apes
too,
and
actually.
monkeys
And they have
stuff.
a lot of lesbian relationships.
Yeah, that's right.
More
Yeah.
more so than male
Yeah.
relationships.
You know, so when we look at it to model the way we resolve social interactions, especially through animals, we should look to, you know, do we want to act like chimpanzees, which are the assertive, aggressive, physically dominant breed, patriarchal, or the bonobos, which are more love, community-based, matriarchal, and it almost is a right brain, left brain split.
And bonobos have, like, you said they have a lot of lesbian relationships. Good for them.
Good for them.
Yeah, that's cool. I'm not, like, when, like, everybody's like, oh, bonobos. I'm like, what the fuck is that? I can't even, like, picture what that is. I don't know why. I don't know what that animal is. But if, so it's
It's a little chimp. It's like a pygmy chimpanzee. Is that?
okay, that makes it cuter. I don't know. Chin's kind of freaking out. Chim's that one woman got her face ripped off.
Incredibly long.